Welcome to my spring garden party, where we painted our own fresh bread, ate spring foraged food like stinging nettle cake and wild garlic dip, and we sat outside amongst the bluebells and enjoyed some time together in the sunshine. I'm going to show you everything I did to prepare for this, my recipes, decor ideas, and how I managed to do it in a way that meant that there was very minimal things for me to do on the day so that I could make the most of enjoying my time with my friends. Because this worked really well, I managed to do most of the prep for this in just one afternoon. So I suppose we should start back on Friday afternoon when I started to prep for this so that I can show you everything that I did. It's Friday afternoon. I need to get all of the meals prepped. I need to go and buy some wild garlic, and I need to practice setting up the table here. Also, that frame over there is a future project, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But I'm going to practice setting up the table here to just make sure I've got all the things that I need. And I think I'm also going to arrange the flowers now. Now, my flowers are not necessarily up to scratch. So I've just had to do my best with the flowers that you get from the grocery store. So this is a little bit of a challenge of like, can you make them nice, you know? So here's a little look at what I've got so far. So this tablecloth was from the charity shop. These cute little placemats were from a shop called Dunelm. Then we have these cute little glasses, which I actually got from TK Maxx. So they're pink and green, but I've only got 4 of them and I've got 6 people. So to mix it up, I've also got these, which are acrylic. These were also from TK Maxx. So they're similar vibe. That's fine. Also good because these are quite delicate. I don't know how long they'll really last. These were, I think, 20p each from the charity shop. And this is what I'm planning, because I don't have any bud vases. I'm planning to put the flowers in these, just as something cute. Now, the big activity of this get together is to paint bread. So on top of the normal things you need for a party of like plates and cups and things, each person needs their own bowl for their dough to be in and ready for them. So I didn't have enough. Annoyingly, I went and bought these at the grocery store. Then I was like, why did I do that? I should have just gone to the charity shop. So I bought 3 more from the charity shop of various things. And like, this is just so what you should do for a party. Like, you know, I can use these once and get rid of them or keep them or whatever I want to do. That's what I've got on the table right now. I also then have this box, which is like my general entertaining box. And I'm going to use these to add to this like gingham vibe. Now just to explain this is basically the culmination of all these various things that I've bought with no purpose and kept. And now they're all coming out to play at the same time. I also have these little napkins. So I bought these on eBay years ago for a party. They're all mismatched. They're all different types of like white linen, and they're really mismatched and stuff, but they're lovely. And that's just my collection of napkins. I just like to embrace like the mishmash sort of vibes, because it's just, why not? When you can just get all this stuff so cheaply, so easily, why would you bother going, I need to have matching everything? Like, I just let it be what it will be. Oh, and down there, I've got all these gold knives and forks from something ages ago, so we can use them. So let's just set up what I've got and have a little look at it to see what we need to do next. But also, I can't forget about the painting equipment. We need to pull together the things that we're gonna need to paint the bread to make sure that we've got everything and get it all set up. Now, I tested out putting it all across the table, and I didn't think we really needed it to be set up like that. So instead of keeping it on the table, I decided to set up a little bit of a painting station where I put all of the supplies that we needed for this little bread project in its own area. So I just collected it all on this little chopping board and just held it there for now so I can figure out what to do with it later. These are just little egg cups that I have. There's only 2 left, they broke. And these are tea lights, and they're from IKEA, I think, yeah. But that's just a nice little thing, probably the perfect size, just to mix some colours in, and I think everyone can share them. And I can get a few more if we need. And I suppose if we got desperate, could even use one of these. Okay, so the flowers were mostly carnations with a few roses included. And literally, this is just what they had at the grocery store that was pink. I figured that if I'm not getting the exact flowers that I want to get, I might as well just stick to a color theme and stick to it really strictly, because that then at least makes it look like a cohesive idea. So I decided on pink because it's spring and pink's fun. Now I did have one larger sort of wine glass there that I used as sort of like a centerpiece. I could have got a bigger thing, but I didn't want anything too substantial. I wanted it to all be a little bit more delicate and sort of smaller things of flowers. So I was happy with this one as one that was just like larger than the rest of them, but still not particularly big. So then I just trusted the process and I just kept going. My attitude with flowers generally is always more is more. And I think that especially when you have flowers that you might not necessarily love or that would be your first choice, I think it's even more important that you just go for it. And so I just went for it and used up all of the flowers and basically just filled all the vessels I had so that there was a beautiful pink scattering of flowers across the whole table. And I was really happy with how it turned out. Like it looked really good. So after this flower arranging session, I quickly popped out to collect some wild garlic. I really find it exciting to use like foraged things in food. So that's why I really use any excuse I can to use some wild garlic when it's in season. But if you can't get wild garlic, you can use spinach for this next recipe. Now, I won't go into the full detail about this recipe because I already have a video showing the whole process. It is, without a doubt, the best dip I've ever had. And every single person at my party asked me what was in it. And everyone wants to have it again. And it is just an absolute banger of a dip. So if you want to see how to make the wild garlic dip, I will leave that video linked below. But now it's time for something I've actually never made before, another foraged little treat, and that is stinging nettle cake. Now nettle is basically a weed, but it has all these nutritional benefits and like people who are into it rave about it. So I thought, why not? Let's embrace the season. So I collected some nettle from the farm nearby, and here it is. You have to use gloves because it really does sting, but once you put it in water, it, deactivates the nettle or something or other, and it doesn't sting you anymore after it has been boiled. Now I'll leave all the details of the recipes I used below. This one I found online, and it said to blanch the nettle for I think like 2 to 3 minutes. But because I'm such a scaredy cat and just do not want to be stung by nettle because I've already done it one too many times, I actually left it in there boiling for more like 6 minutes, and that was fine. So if you're a scaredy cat like me and you are interested in overdoing your nettle blanching, then don't worry, you totally can, and it turned out fine. So the time it took for this nettle to cook gave me the perfect opportunity to make myself a little bit of a margarita. So I found this really good pre-mixed margarita on TikTok of all places. I've had plenty of pre-mixed margaritas and they're just always awful, but this one is really, really good, and I've totally got into jazzing it up and having this premium cocktail experience at home, basically. So yeah, I add salt around the rim of the glass and everything like a pro. And what I've actually really started enjoying is adding some soda water to turn it into a margarita spritz, and then add a little bit of lime, and it's fully like a real cocktail at a bar, except you made it at home. So I love it. But back to the nettle. So when the nettle was done, all you need to do is put it in a blender. So I just mixed it up, and to be honest, I think I probably had a little bit too much water. I didn't really drain the water out, and I think I probably should have, but it was okay. So the rest of the recipe for this nettle cake is just a normal cake recipe, basically. This recipe really was a proper cake mixture where you mix the wet ingredients first and then the dry ingredients. And I had all the enthusiasm for that, but turns out part of the mixer has gone missing. So I had to fumble my way through this with a one-legged mixer, and it turned out okay. So clearly the recipe is quite forgiving. It was a really good cake and I would use this recipe again for sure. However, if you were in a rush, I do think that if you would use like a packet mix and just add it in the nettle mixture, I think that would be okay too. So while I left the nettle cake to cook in the oven, I had another little look at this table setup, and there's literally no filter on this. This is what it looked like. It looks like some kind of romantic movie scene or something. It's just the afternoon sun is just really, really pretty in this room. And yeah, it was quite magical. I was kind of reconsidering whether I should reschedule the whole party and make it an inside afternoon party. It's a pretty good feeling looking at this, realizing I've figured out the whole table setup. All I've got to do is set this up outside. I've done most of the meal prep now. I've only got to do a few other little bits tomorrow morning, and we're in a good position. Now, I also prepared 2 really beautiful salads and some chicken. So if you want the details on all of those recipes, I've got a whole little pack now of the recipes and a full schedule of what you need to do it in the most efficient way so you don't forget anything. And also the AI prompts that I used to keep me organized with things like creating a schedule, to-do lists to stay on top of everything, and even a list of all the plates and bowls and cutlery and big serving platters that I needed. And that made a really big difference for me because, you know, you get to the charity shop and you get really distracted. So it was really good to just go there knowing I need 3 bowls and 1 cake serving plate. This is actually the one that I bought and it did the job just fine. Anyway, so if you're interested in my little party planning, organization, schedule, recipe pack, then just comment below and I'll make sure I send it to you. So it's the next day, we have 4 hours until everyone arrives. I've moved the table onto the grassy area, hoping that the weather's going to stay sunny for the rest of the day. And now I need to basically take everything that I set up yesterday and move it onto this table. And so I suppose I need to explain the bread. Here it is. I need to tell you about the plan with the bread because I know I haven't mentioned this before, and this was the whole purpose of this party. I learned on TikTok some advice about having parties and how to have a good one, and that it's always good to have a bit of a purpose for the gathering. And so that's why I chose this bread painting, because it's a fun little activity. It's easy, it's creative, you haven't done it before, and it's a fun little thing to do. So I didn't invent this. I'm copying this off something I saw on Pinterest, or maybe it was TikTok, I'm not sure. But everywhere that I've seen this done, they've done it with sourdough, and I don't have sourdough. I'm not about to start that whole lifestyle. So I wanted to see if it was possible to paint bread that is just a more of a regular bread mix, you know? That's just easier for someone who's just dabbling in bread making to do rather than a full-on sourdough person, you know, because it's a certain person who's doing that. So I did a test, and I actually used a bread mixture that I used to use during COVID, and you literally just have to add water to it. It's so easy to make. And what I figured out during COVID is that you can totally freeze it. So thinking about planning a party like this, you could make this bread mixture and put it in the freezer weeks in advance if you wanted to, and then just take it out of the freezer to defrost and also to rise. And you just want to make sure you've left enough time for that depending on your temperature. So here's a little look at the tester that I did. So I'm sure you're wondering, like I was, how do you paint on bread? What do you use for the paint? And this is what you use. You use this white stuff that is made for whitening icing or something. I got mine on Amazon. I'll link to it below. It's easy to get. And I just painted it on the raw bread with a paintbrush. Like, there's no technique to it. On the day, we also mixed in food coloring to make different colors. And I think what we learned was that you want to be a little bit careful with it. It can be a little bit runny. And so if you want to have a little bit more control over it, it's probably worth doing really thin coats, letting it dry before adding other colors. But other than that, I'd say it's really easy to do. Anyone can do it. And you literally just bake it in the oven like normal. And then it comes out with a beautiful pattern on it. But we did actually something a little bit more special for baking it. You'll have to wait and see what we did. But for now, we've got the table set up. And because it was a bit windy and I didn't have those things to keep the tablecloth down, I just used the tea lights, and they kept it in place fairly well, just so that the tablecloth didn't completely blow off. I also brought out all of the bread painting equipment, and I used my little stool that I made as a little place to put it, because it's kind of hard when you're having an outdoor party. There's no furniture outside. So as I'm doing this, I am also kind of thinking about what you really need in a dining room, because I'm realizing I've kind of like created a dining room from scratch outside, and I'm going to have to create a dining room from scratch again when we renovate. So I'm thinking I'm going to start designing that space now with all of the things that are in my head after doing this party. Okay, so last bits of preparation, picking these little flowers from the lawn and putting them all over the stinging nettle cake. So then it was time for the party to start. So here's a little look at the final table and our bread painting and everything that we got up to.
My tulip.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, it looks great. Oh, Whitney got Daisy with that.
So I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed having this party. I wanted to share with you a quick little bread review. I really do think that, to be quite honest, I don't think the bread was that perfect, but I don't think that's related to this painting activity. I just think I'm out of practice from making bread. During COVID, I was an absolute expert. But I think that if I got organised and put more effort into doing the bread, it would have risen a little bit more evenly and been a bit better. But overall, you get the idea. You can see what goes on here. So if you did a better job making your bread, you could really have a really stunning result, I think. And then also the nettle cake was absolutely great. I really enjoyed doing something different. You know, it's springtime, we're embracing the change in the weather, and I love the idea of taking what's in season and what's around us and making it into food and making it fun as well. So definitely recommend that. So if you want to see more of the things that I'm getting up to at the moment, make sure you follow me on Instagram. And if you do want a copy of the recipes and everything, do comment below so that I can send you a copy and then you can make your own. So I hope you enjoyed coming along to this little party with me, and I'll see you in the next video.